If you watched my last video, we checked out a digital 8 camcorder from Sony. I figured for today's video we would check out another 8mm tape camcorder by Sony, and this one is a Hi8 camcorder. Let's check it out and see if it's worth even mentioning on this channel. Hey there, welcome back to my camera collection. If you're new around here, we like to check out old school retro camcorders. If you're into that kind of thing, maybe consider subscribing. Today we're going to be checking out the Sony CCD-TRV138. I'll tell you a little bit about the camera, where I got it from. We'll go over the specs on this camcorder, the specs that I could find. We'll go around and look at the physical features on it. I'll give you some opinions on it. And at the end of the video, I will share some of the test footage that comes out of this camcorder. With that being said, let's get into today's video. I've been holding on to this camcorder for a little while now. I got 3 other camcorders. Well, I got 2 other camcorders with this. I was at work. I do custodial work for the school district in town. And long story short, one of the high schools ended up burning down, and they had to move their sports classes around to some different facilities, and I went and cleaned a church that was hosting like band or something like that. And I talked to the, I don't know what he's called at a Catholic church, the head guy at the church, and they broadcast their Sunday seminars or whatever they're called on like these big like TV style, like P2 card TV style movie broadcasting cameras. And I was like, I wonder if he has any other kind of cameras. I asked him, and he took me to like this closet that he had, and sure enough, yeah, he had 3 other camcorders. One was it was a Sony like DVD camcorder. I ended up giving that one to my dad just because I kind of broke one of his cameras. I figured I'd just replace it. And then there's this one, and I have another one that we will be checking out in the future, and that one is a JVC VHS-C camcorder. And he said that he had some other camcorders somewhere around the facility that he'd have to go and look for. I left the guy my number, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. Either he lost the piece of paper I gave him for the contact information for me, or he just hasn't gone and looked around for camcorders. Yeah, I think I paid like $100 for all 3 camcorders, which is honestly a really good deal because all these camcorders are in really good shape, and I think 2 of them came with bags, the original chargers. I think this one came with a remote, and yeah, a couple bags. So definitely worth the $100. Yeah, this camcorder works really great, and it's honestly in really good shape. I guarantee that they probably only used this a handful of times and then probably went into storage. But that's the backstory on this camcorder. We'll go around and we'll talk about the specs on this camcorder. There's not a lot that I could find. I went to B&H Photo and found some stuff on there about it. And I found I think it was on Sony's website. You could find the like digital user manual for it. And I scrolled and found the specs portion of it. That's where I got all the specs information on this camcorder. There's not a lot. Yeah, ones that are definitely worth mentioning. Before we do talk about the specs, I do want to say that this camcorder it's a Hi8 camcorder. I want to say that it was like a budget-friendly camcorder. I think it was more of like the low-end model because it's missing a lot of features, and we'll get to those features throughout the specs and the physical feature portion of the video. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was more of a budget-friendly one, and I couldn't find the original price on this just because it's missing many features on it. I would assume that it was not a super expensive camera because there was a lot of other Hi8 cameras probably out at the time that were much better and more expensive and had a lot more features. Yeah, this one was kind of the base model, if you will. If you record in SP mode or short play mode, you can get 2 hours of recording time on one Video 8 tape, or 8mm tape. If you record in long play mode, you can get 4 hours of footage on it. If you want to have as much footage as possible on one tape, you can use long play mode. You're not going to get as good of video quality with long play mode as you would with short play. It does have a black and white viewfinder. It does create 90,000 pixels, which for a viewfinder isn't a whole lot. I mean, it works, you know. Now, I'm actually pretty surprised by this. It does have a 1/6 CCD sensor, and it creates 320,000 pixels. This is probably the first Sony camcorder I think I have reviewed that has had a sensor smaller than a 1/4 inch sensor. That's a 1/6 sensor. This is a tiny sensor. There's one other camcorder that I think I reviewed, and I think it was the Hitachi HDD/DVD camcorder, and I think that was the only other one I've reviewed so far that has had a 1/6 sensor in it. It does have a great low light capability, even though it does have such a small sensor. I went out to the skate park and got some clips out there, and towards the end, I was getting some pretty good footage with it, actually, with it being pretty dark out. It's pretty grainy. Like, you can still see some pretty good detail within the video. So with it having such a small sensor, I'm pretty surprised that it does that well in low light conditions. It does have a 20 times optical zoom. That's right in the ballpark for me. It does have a 990 times digital zoom. That's going to be completely worthless, especially because this is a Hi8 camera and it's not going to have the best footage. The minimum illumination is 1 lux. It does really good with low light, and it does have 0 lux night shot. If you do need to do some kind of night filming, or you want to film some spooky ghost adventures or creepy night videos with night shot, you can use that as well. And to add on top of that, it does have a light here on the front that you can use to illuminate to help with night shot, or even just recording in low light situations without night shot. I didn't get the chance to test that out. It does work. It does turn on. And it does have a 2.5 inch LCD screen, pretty standard for a lot of camcorders. You can get lucky sometimes and find some Hi8 Sony camcorders with a 3.5 inch LCD screen. It does create approximately 123,200 pixels for the LCD screen. Very specific. Now, there is no steady shot on this or image stabilization. Your footage will be shaky, most likely. I guess that's good in some ways, because if you want to use it for like skateboarding or something, you could just hook up a fisheye to it. You don't have to turn the stabilization on or off. It's just always off because there's no stabilization. The minimum shutter speed is 1 in 60, and the maximum shutter speed is 1 in 4,000. I think it goes decently high on the shutter speed, especially for such a basic camcorder. It does have a stereo microphone, which I'm very glad that it does, because I think that would definitely make it not worth getting if it had a mono microphone. I mean, yeah, you can convert it into stereo and stuff like that. It's nice that it has a stereo microphone on it. It does have 8 preset titles. It has already, pre-made titles that you can choose from, like Happy Birthday or Happy Holidays or Our New Baby, stupid things like that they had on these camcorders back in the 2000s and 90s. It does have 2 custom titling functions. You can create 2 different titles that are specifically however you want to make them, custom, and then you can save both of them. You can kind of go in between both of them and choose which ones you want. And those are in 7 different colors. Like the font, you can choose like the letters in 7 different colors. And the weight of this camcorder is 1 pound 11 ounces, and it was released in 2005 from what I could find. To me, it's kind of a real basic camera for being released in 2005. I think there's been quite a few different camcorders that I've talked about from about 2005, 2006. This thing is very, very cheap. I don't want to say very, very cheap. It's definitely much more basic than a lot of other camcorders I have checked out from 2005. Now that we've talked about the specs on the camera, let's go around and look at the physical features on it. Let's start at the front like we always do. It does come with a nice lens cap. I usually don't like the lens cap attached to the hand strap, just because when you take it off or you have it on a tripod or something and you're moving it around, or if like there's a breeze or something, the lens cap will kind of slap the side of the camcorder. You can hear tapping noises in the audio usually when you're recording. But yeah, it does have a 37mm lens lens thread diameter on it. If you want to use like an Optica fisheye or a Valedge fisheye, I think is the name of the company that makes the other fisheyes that are identical to Optica fisheyes, and they're actually pretty cheap. I think they're like $70 for those fisheyes. I'll leave a link in the description for that 37mm Valedge fisheye that I'm talking about. And on the front here, you do have your stereo microphone. Although usually when you have the stereo microphone, it'll have an L and an R indicating left and right for your audio. I don't see that on here, so the B&H information could be wrong on this. It could be a mono microphone, I'm not sure. It's telling you that it has a 20 times optical zoom and a 990 times digital zoom. Make sure you know that. They got to make sure that you know that it's got a 990 times digital zoom, even though most of that digital zoom isn't usable. There's this little black compartment right here, and that is your infrared receiver for your infrared wireless remote, and it does come with one. I have the remote for it. There's another little light in the middle, and that is your tally lamp for when you are recording. I think this is actually a LED light here on the front. That's what it looks like. It looks like there's 3 LED bulbs there. So we'll come around the left side of the camera. You have a battery display and battery info. You can turn the display on and off pretty much. And then you have an easy button here. That's pretty much just like a auto mode, pretty much, if you will. Now the screen does have a button here. You push it in, you can pull the screen out. Very traditional for a lot of Sony camcorders. On the inside of the screen, you have a few different buttons here, and definitely towards this time, Sony camcorders, they started putting these functions here on the screen, and you have a secondary record button along with a secondary zoom button. You have your wide and your telephoto. You can zoom in and out. Now on the inside, you have a lot more buttons here than I have usually seen on Hi8 camcorders. This kind of has more of a mini DV camcorder feel to it. You have all your playback functions and stuff here. You have your rewind, your play, your fast forward, and your counter reset, along with your stop, pause, date, and time buttons, along with your easy dub, title, exposure, menu, and your volume up and down, and your in search for when you're in playback. Along with that, down at the very bottom, you have a little button that says reset. So you can get like a pen or like a paper clip or something like that. That's real small in diameter, and you can push that reset button to reset the camera if it's kind of wigging out or just being weird or something. That usually can help with a lot of issues. And then you have a little tiny playback speaker here with these little holes here. Pretty traditional spot for Sony playback speakers. And a lot of these camcorders at this time, especially, well, not this one, a lot of mini DV ones were touchscreen by 2005. They were kind of dabbling with that. This one isn't touchscreen. If you were wondering that, no, this one isn't touchscreen. I'm pretty sure this is a base model, like I've been saying. I don't think they'd put a touchscreen in it. Those are pretty much all those buttons. Around here on the back, you have, well, you got your black and white viewfinder, and it actually slides out and it pivots up at about a 45-degree angle. And underneath you have your focus adjust little switch here. You can adjust it to your eyesight. Underneath the viewfinder though, you have your light button. You can turn the light on or off. You have your fader, backlight button, your focus, and your select and execute button. You have your little scroll wheel, so you can go up and down in the menu, and it pushes in just like a button, and you can use that to adjust like the like your exposure, the white balance, and you know, get around in the menu and all that kind of stuff. On the right side of the viewfinder here, you do get your battery release button. Push it in, you can pop the battery out by sliding it up. You want to put the battery in, you put it in the top and you slide it down till it clicks in. You got some little lights here. You have a little light that lights up orange, and that's your charge light. And then you have a couple different lights here that will tell you what mode you're in. If the light is on the camera one, that means you're in record mode, and if the light is on in the play/edit mode, you're in playback mode. Now the power switch is much different than most Sony camcorders. In the up position, it's off. You push the little green button in, and you can push the switch down and it'll turn it on, and then you can push it all the way down and it will switch it into playback mode. It will actually spring back up into the middle, into the on position, and that's how you switch back and forth between record mode and playback mode. And you got a pretty small record button. You know, they always leave it red. You know which button is the record button. Underneath the battery, you have your DC in, or your power supply. If you're looking for one of those power supplies, I'll leave a link in the description, along with compatible batteries and wall chargers for this as well. Now, up on top, you do have my absolute least favorite style of zoom rocker here, and it's the little tiny one that just has very little play in it. This one's not too bad though. The movement isn't super fast, so you can actually get like decent smooth shots with it. Some camcorders, man, they just zoom in really fast and zoom out really fast. It's hard to get like a nice slow smooth zoom on it. This one actually works pretty good. And up on top, you don't have any of the playback functions that light up orange because, well, they're behind the screen. So there's nothing that they have up here besides maybe like a little groove to put your fingers while you're recording. You do have a switch for your night shot on and off. Now, the part that really screams base model to me is the video and audio outsources, or I want to say outsource, because there's one video audio outsource, and that is your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack AV out. Just the yellow AV out. That's it. There's no S video. There's no headphone jack. There's no external mic jack. There's no Firewire. There's nothing. That's the only video outsource that you get on this, is just the AV out. You have to have like the 3-to-1 style, like RCA video cable for that to work. And if you need one of those, I'll leave one of those in the description. And then the tape eject here is actually on the bottom. Definitely like early to mid 2000s. A lot of companies started doing this with their camcorders. They eject from the bottom instead of like the top. You open the bottom up. That's how your tape goes in. I kind of don't like the way that this is. I like the way that the camcorders were, where they opened from the top and the tape moved up, because then you could like set the camcorder like on a table, and you could just have it sitting there and pop the tape out, throw another one in, and then close it. You don't have to hold it awkwardly upside down like this. I don't know. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of mini DV camcorders that are like this as well. I guess that's how they made them a lot more compact. Yeah, it does have 5C on the bottom of it. It was produced and manufactured in 2005 in the third quarter. And that is all the physical features on this camcorder. Yeah, I'll give a couple opinions on this camera real quick. So I can't complain about the lack of features on it because, like I said, I'm pretty sure that this was marketed as a budget, or they developed it as a cheaper camcorder for people to buy. Like if you didn't have a lot of money, this was a cheap camcorder that you could get to use back in 2005. There's some things that I look at and it's like they could have added a few more things to it just because it already has a couple things to it. Like one, I want to say like a colored viewfinder. I don't think there should be a reason why it can't have a colored viewfinder. I don't see why it would cost more to produce a camcorder with a colored viewfinder. Maybe it was like their way to kind of bribe people to upgrade to like a more expensive camera instead of getting a camcorder that has a black and white viewfinder. It has night shot, which, you know, practically all consumer Sony camcorders at this time period had night shot. I mean, it had an LED light on the front here. So I don't understand why they couldn't have added like, I mean, it doesn't even have an LANC on it. The only plug-in source on it is the AV in or AV out. I think they could have at least put S video on it, because I mean, this thing it's a Hi8 camcorder. Like I've looked at some of the footage on YouTube as well, and man, this footage looks like it's from like the mid 90s, and this camcorder is from 2005. I don't know. They could have added a couple more things to it. That, and if it is a mono microphone, I think that's pretty disappointing because, I mean, it's 2005. I think everything at that point should have been stereo at that point. I don't know. There's a couple things that it's like, why did they make it the way that they made it as a budget camcorder? Like there's a couple things that they could have just added to it and still kept it as like the base model camcorder. That and like the stabilization, like why is there no steady shot on this? Like it has night shot, no steady shot. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I feel like that should be standard in like all camcorders. Doesn't matter if it's like a budget camcorder or not. This little camcorder works great, and honestly, like with it being such a cheap camcorder, it's actually pretty fun to use. Like I took it out to the skate park and filmed myself scootering, and I attached a 37mm fisheye on it. Like I said, man, I just had like so much fun filming with it, like because I just know that like the footage isn't gonna look super good on it. Sometimes that's what's fun about these old camcorders, is the kind of just meh footage you get out of it. Like it's not great. That's what's fun about it. I don't know. If you're looking for a cheap camcorder that, you know, kind of has like that real retro Hi8 look to it, this is a good one to get. Yeah, I will be selling this camcorder. It'll be up on my eBay store by the time you are watching this. It'll come with this Sony bag here, and you know, it's a nice little camera bag for it. It'll come with the original power supply and the original remote, and it already has a tape in it, original battery that holds a charge, original charger, and the original infrared remote. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And if you have one of these camcorders for yourself, or any kind of like Hi8 camcorder that's like this, I'll leave links in the description for batteries, chargers, 8mm tapes, video converters for you to convert them to SD card, fisheyes, and any other kind of fun accessories that'll make these more fun to use and just get the life back into your old camcorder. Hopefully this video has inspired you to maybe get yourself a retro camcorder for yourself if you don't already have one. Let's check out some of the test footage and let me know what you think of the test footage. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you leave a like. And if you enjoy my content, make sure you subscribe, because we talk about old school retro camcorders almost on a weekly basis. And on that note, we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.